Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me just move you a bit so you don't see the other side. There we go. Alright, so today's video, I am divulging into a new series where we explore early childhood, particularly in New South Wales and the educational sector in New South Wales, particularly as that's the state I'm in Australia. And I thought I'd break it down piece by piece, going from traineeship to when you become a certificate 3 to a diploma, as that's the level I'm in. I haven't started my ECT yet. Don't know if I will, because the amount of experience, I guess you would call it, has really dampened my view, particularly in my workers' comp situation when my boss bullied and harassed me after my father's death. It just really burnt me out, and I thought if my experience can help someone else out there, then that's what I'm going to do. Now, if you notice the lighting is crazy, we are in the middle of a thunderstorm right about now. Well, it's approaching. If you hear chickens next door, they are going haywire. Next door have got chickens, a dog, a cat, budgies in a cage. It's like old MacDonald have a farm, and we're on a very small residential property. It is ridiculous. Also, if you notice the pool motor going, I'll try to reduce the sound in edit, but that's the situation I'm working with. So today I'm going to break down what it means to be a trainee in the educational sector, particularly as a early childhood trainee. So hopefully this helps for young people leaving school, maybe someone who wants to change jobs, that type of thing. I've written a whole heap of notes down in my little notebook. Look how cute it is. I got it from Redbubble. It is so cute. Mean Girls inspired. I love it. So let's divulge in. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe to my channel down below and leave a comment about your experience. If you're an early childhood educator or a teacher in New South Wales, maybe this will help spread the message to our government to help us, especially when we're looking after young children for over 12 hours a day. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let us define what it is to be a trainee. What is a traineeship? So let's open up the burn book and find out what is a traineeship. So according to the Educational Department in New South Wales, a traineeship provides the opportunity to work in childhood education and care services for children from birth to 6 years old. You will learn about child development, legal and ethical responsibilities when caring and or educating children, creating safe learning environments, engaging infants and toddlers, particularly responsible in the work environment, communication skills to interact with families, children and co-workers, as well as first aid and work health and safety. So basically, you are a student in an educational facility where you can work as well as study at the same time. Now, you do get paid for it. When I started in 2012, because I've been working with children since I was 16. So my first ever job, I was a party host at AMF Bowling. It's now called Zone Bowling. Don't know why. I hate name changing. But I was a party host when I was 16, so I would run parties every weekend, sometimes throughout the week, and I was on a casual base. And I was 16 and I left at 18 when I had my finger amputation on this baby right here, on my left ring finger. Don't put your hand in a lawnmower, please. I'll divulge into that in another video because, we won't have time for it. But basically, throughout the healing process, I wasn't getting a lot of shifts at my job because I was a liability as I was just healing. And so after I did a lot of therapy, after my finger was healed, I thought I was only getting 4 hours on Saturday and Sunday, which is 8 hours per weekend. Whereas before I would get over 18 hours a weekend and maybe 20 hours throughout the whole week. So I thought, this is not going to make me money. And as a casual, yes, you're having higher rates, but you don't get the sick leave benefits and everything like that. So my thought was, while I was healing and recovering, what can I do to stay working in childcare? Because I really love watching children. I love interacting with them and learning their capabilities and learning their religion and things like that. And especially when you are in, working as a party host, you come across children with all different backgrounds, with all different religion, capabilities, special needs, all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to continue that learning experience. So I thought, I'll do a traineeship. I can earn money while studying and working to see if I like it. And I was 18 at the time, so it was like, if I don't like it, I could go somewhere else. So I went and applied for a traineeship in Baulkham Hills. And I won't say the name of the childcare centre in order for their own protection, but I loved that centre. I loved the director. She was super kind. The educational leader, love her. The staff were really kind. I had the best time in learning at that childcare centre. So I started in 2014. So I had a year off in order to help. So I had my accident in 2012. And then I started in 2014. So a year after my finger healed and me still working as a casual base, I ended up getting a traineeship and I was successful and I started working. Now, at that time, because back in 2014, we got shit money. I was getting $11.50 an hour and I was getting work and I was working a 10-hour day, 4 days a week. So basically, you work a 40-hour week, you get a day off, and then that day is usually used for studying, where you can go to TAFE at night, which was like you don't get home till midnight, and then you're up at 7 a.m. in the morning. So for my shift, I was doing 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I would always open with the director of the childcare centre, and I loved it, but it's very, very consuming job. So if you don't like, getting into, you don't like cleaning or anything like that, don't work in childcare because that's all you do as a traineeship, basically. And I'll get into that later. But I wanted to read in my little notebook. This is from the Children's Service Award in 2010 by the Fair Work Ombudsman. Now, as I said, back in 2014, I was getting $11.50 an hour. So I basically broke it down from under 16, what you will get for the first year, to 17, 18, an adult apprentice for the first year as a trainee. Okay, so let's see. No, I should have brought my glasses with me. So under 16 years old, you'll be getting $16.76 per hour. I'll leave the information down below in the description box just in case you guys want to look at it yourself. So that's when you're 16 and under. 17 years old, you get $19.15 an hour, and that's for your first year. 18 years old, you get $20.55 for the first year. And adult apprentice, you get $23.94 for your first year. So compare that now, because of inflation and the war going on and all that sort of stuff, the wages are rising, but they're not rising quick enough, in my opinion. And back in 2014, I was getting $11.50 an hour, and I left school for the first year. So it was, when I look back on how little I got and how much work I did, it is ridiculous, but it is life-changing, because without that experience, you don't appreciate it down the track. So the duties I faced as a trainee is the next section. So what I did was I assisted in opening the centre with the director, as I mentioned earlier, and my shift was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes I'll ask to change it if, mum and dad was sick or anything like that. But mostly it was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what you would do is that the director will assist you in, putting the code in to the security. Then you set up the trolley for breakfast. You gather, most centres in childcare gather in the toddler room, and then branch out in the preschool room and then the babies around 8 o'clock. So we would set up in the toddler room. We would bring the trolley with the toaster, the bread, the spreads like Vegemite, cheese spread, butter, We're not allowed anything with nuts in the childcare centre because a lot of children these days are allergic to nuts, even though back in the day it was there, but it wasn't as common as it is now. So we would get that. We would get cereals. The cereals mainly included Wheat Bix, Rice Bubbles, and cornflakes with full cream milk or light milk. So the full cream milk was for the 3 years and under, and the light milk was from 3 years older. So there was a different age gap in that sort of sense. And then sometimes children bring in their own own breakfast from home. We just ask the parents to not pack anything with nuts, so like Nutella, peanut butter, stuff like that, almond butter, anything with nuts, no go. So after breakfast is set up, we would then set up some quiet activities for the children who are coming in early. So, for example, there'll be a drawing table, a book corner will be set up, maybe some puzzles, maybe Play-Doh, just quiet activities for the children who are coming in early so they can slowly wake up. It's a lot of early childcare, we're mostly play-based. So our vision is that children learn through play. And then as educators, you are meant to observe what are they learning in that experience. So, for example, if you are doing NAIDOC week, you can set up a art activity where children can do dot painting, for example, and then they can explore the different symbols of NAIDOCs and the Aboriginals and the First Leaders and all that sort of stuff. And that's sort of how we come about that. And it's always, you don't force a child to do an activity if they don't want to do it. That's your number one thing. You do not force any child. If they don't want to do it, let them play something else and then encourage them to come back to the activity later. So that was the first thing. Then you set up activities. Then you do the 7:30 nappies when another educator comes in to relieve the director. So you do 7:30. It's usually the morning nappies around 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, and you and another qualified educator. So a qualified educator has to observe you with the children at all times. You are not and will not allowed to be alone with children because you are a student and you don't have that qualified experience. So a qualified educator will observe you, doing the nappy so you're not harming them sexually or anything like that in any way. Then you handle morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea. You handle all the food, basically. Then you set up the morning activities. So you can either set up the outdoor morning activities or sometimes the indoor morning, depending on the weather and what's been planned for the day. Again, set up with a qualified educator and the room leader. So, for example, the qualified educator might say, can you set up the sandpit outside, do an obstacle course, maybe an arts and craft area outside, that type of thing. And when I was a trainee, we would have to be out at a certain time because the neighbour had complained to the council, so we were only allowed to be outside to a certain time of the day and then had to come inside. It was ridiculous. So that would happen. Then you would have morning tea, and that's usually fruit, toast, pancakes, whatever is on the menu. Of course, children with allergies get a different alternative. Then you do a morning group time activity, so that's reading books, singing songs, whatever educational activity that the qualified educators have set up. And sometimes they will get you to conduct it. Sometimes you will help setting up the next activity, or sometimes you'll help setting up beds, depending on how late of the day. So beds are usually done around, I would say 11:30 going to 12, because lunch is around 12. So you do it while the kids are sitting down, either in the morning activity, or you do it when they are, God, it looks really black out there. Hope it doesn't get a storm. Anyway, so you do it when they're sitting up for the morning activity, or you do it when they're getting prepared for lunch. So usually the trainees help with setting up beds, and the children bring their own sheets, and then those sheets are kept here unless they have lice, then they're sent home. So the children bring in their own sheets, their own blankets, comforters, whatever. They bring in all that, and it's clearly marked with their name. So you will assist that making the beds, and it's always head toe, and it's always around a meter apart from each other. So that's for the beds. That's, of course, if you're in the toddler and the preschool room. Cots are different in the babies, but again, they're usually pretty even in the cot room, and your trainees are not allowed to be left alone in a cot room. They have to be supervised with a qualified educator. So after that, after lunch, so you handle lunch, you do sleep nappies. So you make sure all the nappies are changed if the children are in sleep nappies. If they're in the preschool room or they don't wear nappies, they usually head straight to the beds, and you would help pat them to sleep. Again, do not, if an qualified educator has to leave you alone, ask what do you need, or ask if you can help in getting another qualified educator to come and relieve that educator. So you are not allowed to be left alone with the children as a trainee. So if a qualified educator has to use the bathroom, ask if they can get a qualified educator if you can go get a qualified educator to come and relieve them. Do not allow yourself to be left alone in a vulnerable position when you're surrounded by 30 children who you need to pat to sleep. So the children will sleep from around 12:30 till about 2:30, so 2-hour gap. So during that time, you'll clean up lunch, mop the floors, and set up group activities, that type of thing. And also throughout your learning experience, you'll learn how to do what's called a day book. Now, a day book is basically what parents will read their children did throughout the day. So again, if they did NAIDOC week, for example, you list all the activities they did and what the educational intent is behind them. If it's for St. Patrick's Day, like what arts and crafts you did and what's the intent there and all that sort of stuff. So it's all about educational intent on your part, but also what the children did and got out from it and what they learned and what fun they had. And so you would take photos of the kids doing the activities and all that sort of stuff, unless there are specific children who are not required to have photos on. And that could be for different reasons. It could be because children have a protective order. Parents don't want the children to have photos done. So you will find that there'll be a wall on, around the staff area where allergic kids are, as well as protective order children. Okay, what else? So also there will be times where you are allocated a certain time. So it's usually in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, but it's around an hour and a half where you are allowed to go off the floor to do your studies, to do all your units. And then, of course, when the children wake up, you do your afternoon nappies. And then you play a bit so you do quiet activities while the children are waking up. And then you pack away all the beds. Then there'll be, after all the nappies are done, the beds are packed away, there'll be an afternoon group time, probably a song or a dance, reading books, that type of thing. And then you get ready for afternoon tea. After afternoon tea, you encourage them to put on sunscreen, and then they play out in the afternoon outside for the rest of the afternoon. Unless it's really cold or rainy, then you play inside. But mostly it's in the outside where they could get their energy out. And then around 4 o'clock is the afternoon nappies. So 4 o'clock afternoon nappies, and then it's late afternoon snack around 5 o'clock, 5:30 for the kids who are at home, who are late to be picked up. And then the centre usually shuts at 6, sometimes 6:30. There are some of them who shut down at 7. My mum was always at 6. So that's basically the day as a trainee. And even as a Cert 3 or Certificate 3 or a diploma, that's usually the day for all educators. But with you as a trainee, you're mostly doing all the cleaning, Task says you cannot be left alone with the children unless you're really close to graduating with your certificate 3, like 2 months into it, then you might be allowed. But again, you will still be watched. I just want to also point out, if you are a trainee and you are struggling with children who are under the NDIS, who have special needs, that type of thing, do not take on the responsibility by yourself. I have been in situations where, particularly children on the autism scale, they can erupt at any tick of the clock. And I was left in a vulnerable position because I didn't know how to handle it. I learned tips and tricks throughout the years, but as a trainee, don't put yourself in a vulnerable position. If you find yourself call out to a qualified educator, or at the very least go to your director. And obviously you want to bond with the child. I'm not saying exclude yourself from the child with special needs or NDIS, but make sure you have an educator, a qualified educator in the area, so that you are not only bonding with that child, but if they do hurt themselves or anything like that, or there's something wrong and you don't know what to do, you can always call them for help. And then you could take over from what the qualified educator was doing. So that's my advice with that. And as I said, do not allow yourself to be stuck in a room with all the children. As a qualified educator needs to go to the bathroom or anything like that, ask if you could go find a qualified educator to replace them. Because there are so many times I was left alone, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle, but I did manage to persevere because I have that sort of ability. My dad was a warehouse manager, and my mum worked in the switchboard at children's hospitals. She ran 3 departments, so I got my work ethics from them. So I was okay. But if you find yourself inundated, you're struggling, talk to your director, talk to your room leader, talk to your supervisor. Make sure you document everything, so it's not coming back on you. Because if something happens to that child, it'll be on you. So please document everything. Even if you have to carry a little notebook throughout the day, leave on the desk, you say, this child has suffered this throughout the day, told this person at this time, sign it. That way it's written down and you won't be held responsible. So, on that note, I hope this was somewhat helpful and educational for any people who want to come into the sector. Next video, I will be discussing about your Certificate 3 and what you learned through there. And then if you want to progress to do a diploma traineeship, and then what you face as a diploma. But hope this was somewhat helpful, and leave comments down below if you're a early childhood educator yourself. What was your experience like as a trainee? Love to hear all experiences from all around the world. This is again for New South Wales in Australia only. But I would love to hear every experience under the sun, because we won't learn, we won't grow, and it's not just for our benefits. Maybe someone from the government might be watching and they can learn from this as well. So I hope you guys have a good day. Stay safe, stay happy, stay positive. We don't need any more dramas. We don't need any more world wars. We just need peace and harmony and learn from one another. So I hope that's what my channel is going to be about. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.